Trump says U.S. to reimpose naval blockade on Iran, keep Hormuz open. Lebanon and Israel launched sixth round of direct talks in Rome. And Egypt sends 233rd Gaza aid convoy through Qrim Abu Salam. Seven p.m. here in Cairo. You're watching Qnews. I'm Halal Hamalawi with our first news bulletin. U.S. President Donald Trump said that Washington will reimpose a naval blockade on Iran while keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. U.S. President Donald Trump said that the United States will reimpose a naval blockade on Iran. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said that the Strait of Hormuz is open and will remain open with or without Iran, adding that the United States would protect the strategic waterway. He also said that the U.S. would receive a 20% fee on all cargo shipments passing through the strait. Trump added that the naval blockade would apply only to Iranian vessels and ships trading with Iran, preventing them from entering or leaving Iranian ports. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that Washington may take control of the Strait of Hormuz and seek financial compensation for securing the critical waterway. In remarks to Fox News, he emphasized the U.S. would act as a guardian, citing support from allied nations. The comments come as Iran maintains restrictions on passage following its announced closure of the strait. Trump also accused Tehran of repeatedly violating agreements, warning of a tougher U.S. response. Iran said that efforts to establish a joint Strait of Hormuz mechanism with Oman have been hindered by U.S. pressure. The remarks come amid escalating exchange of missile and drone strikes between Washington and Tehran, with Iran claiming to have targeted U.S. facilities across the region and disrupted key infrastructure. Meanwhile, Iran also said that it will not implement its commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding with the United States unless Washington does the same. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baqai said that Tehran will not fulfill its commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding with the United States as long as, in his words, the other side fails to meet its obligations. Baqai said that the memorandum has undoubtedly entered a stage of crisis. He also claimed that Iran is trying to reach a joint mechanism with Oman regarding the Strait of Hormuz, but said that the U.S. pressure is obstructing those efforts. U.S. Central Command said that it has completed a new wave of strikes against military targets in Iran. U.S. Central Command said that it has completed the new wave of offensive strikes against dozens of targets across multiple locations in Iran using precision-guided munitions. And CENTCOM also said that the operation targeted Iranian air defense systems, coastal radar sites, missile and drone capabilities, and fast attack boats operated by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It added that the strikes also involved the first use of lightering attack drones and unmanned surface vessels. The command said that the operation was aimed at degrading Iran's ability to continue attacks on international shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, stressing that Iran does not control the strategic waterway and that U.S. forces remain ready to ensure freedom of navigation. U.S. officials said that around 20 commercial ships crossed the Strait of Hormuz over the past 24 hours in coordination with the U.S. military. A U.S. official told Axios that around 20 commercial vessels transited the Strait of Hormuz over the past 24 hours in coordination with the U.S. military. The official added that several other ships also passed through the strategic waterway without coordinating with U.S. forces.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
Lebanese President Joseph Aoun has expressed hope that the Rome negotiations will deliver tangible and practical outcomes on the ground. He stressed that the framework agreement clearly calls for a full Israeli withdrawal from all Lebanese territory, underscoring that lasting stability can only be achieved through mutual understanding and consensus. Aoun added that Lebanon will urge U.S. President Donald Trump to exert pressure on Israel to ensure full implementation of agreed terms. Meanwhile, Lebanon's delegation has arrived in Rome for the 6th round of direct negotiations with Israel. Participation is limited to a political team led by Ambassador Simon Karam. Talks will focus on implementing the framework agreement with Beirut, demanding a clear timeline for executing phased agreements in designated trial zones. The Lebanese presidency has received assurances that Washington will continue sponsoring and advancing negotiations despite the venue shift to Rome. The round coincides with parallel U.S.-Lebanese military talks addressing arrangements for a potential Israeli withdrawal from agreed areas. Israeli forces have continued demolishing and burning homes in southern Lebanon despite the ceasefire agreement. The Israeli military continued demolishing and burning the houses in southern Lebanon on Monday, despite the ceasefire agreement. The agency reported that Israeli forces blew up and set fire to homes in the southern neighborhoods of the town of Hadatha in the Bint Jbeil district. It added that Israeli drones flew at low altitude over the eastern city of Baalbek, while noting that Israeli forces had carried out a large-scale demolition in the city of Bint Jbeil on Sunday. For more analysis, we now move to Hani Saif in our newsroom. Over to you, Hani.
Thank you, Hela. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined from Beirut by the military and strategic expert, Brigadier General Neji Malab. Brigadier Malab, thank you for joining us here on Qnews. Now, how significant and critical and maybe fruitful the Rome talks would be at this stage of the Lebanese-Israeli negotiations?
After greetings for you and all the viewers, thank you for having me here in Qnews. Let us start. What do we need from these negotiations? Lebanon draws a president and a plan in a Washington table with some demands, and these demands depended and were accepted by Lebanese government and is an alternative for the situation between Israel modern advanced plan that use AI and is very successful in the Navy and the aircrafts, and there were attacks on Lebanon, and this is a strategic plan to protect the southern Lebanon. It's not about defense, however, Iran moved it and Lebanon paid the result. So the Lebanese agreement was very clear that a future without weapons and a peace agreement for Lebanon, and also the southern Lebanon want to be a scene for weapons from outside Lebanon or outside the country. All of these things, when it reached to Israeli withdrawal from the southern Lebanon, there is no justification for any threatening of Israeli to Lebanon. So a total withdrawal is depending on the agreement, and there is no way for any attacks. So we have to stop the Israeli attacks on Lebanon and to abide by the agreement on return. So the in framework, it reached somehow of the commitment, as one of their demands is the Israeli convoy outside Lebanon, Israeli army, and to have or to return sovereignty for Lebanon. However, these are two complex issues. First of all, Hezbollah.
Yes, I was just about to ask, what would be the main challenges you think being faced for the implementation of the framework agreement on the ground?
Yes, definitely. First of all, Hezbollah will obstacle the proposal because he didn't accept that this is the correct agreement. He depends on the Iranian-American agreement that make Hezbollah at his first article that Israel should stop violations and withdraw outside Lebanon and to regain its sovereignty. However, this didn't achieve yet, and we witnessed that this agreement didn't serve any citizen. So Mr. President Trump said clearly, whenever Iran is still stubborn about Strait of Hormuz, so we will violate the agreement, and Lebanon should press on Iran to reopen Strait of Hormuz. However, these two things are not linked together. On the other side, Hezbollah, if he didn't get the total withdrawal of Israel from the southern Lebanon, so Hezbollah doesn't have any doubt to be the army in the southern Lebanon. As soon as the Israeli withdrawal, Hezbollah will stop any attacks. The right solution is Lebanon should follow up the works and the resolution of the Lebanese government and the withdrawal of the weapons. This is for Hezbollah. From Israeli side, we are well aware that the army that is saying the force, if it is not sufficient in the real ground, and as long as there is so many violations and there are so many deaths outside on the ground and under the ground, so there should be an elections and to convince the society that more hegemony on Lebanese lands or Syrian lands is an achievement to be still in the presidency position. Maybe he will lose. He's afraid to lose the elections. So the Israeli obstacle is so clear that they will not be a total withdrawal, and he said it clearly. To stay,
what about the timing issue, sir? How realistic is the proposed timeline for executing arrangements in the designated trial zones?
Lebanon depends greatly on the American table and American negotiations, because American pressure on Israel can achieve these tasks. And we started to see that there is an American guarantee regarding army with the presence of the partnerships and to learn or to have some experts that served in the Lebanese lands, and he went to Israel and they went to Lebanon, and he delivered a team to Lebanon to work, to be or to achieve the first tasks that they determined by Americans with coordination with the Israeli army, so that the Lebanese army should go to the southern after Israeli withdrawal from these lands. This is the first topic. The second topic, I think there should be a withdrawal schedule. Yes, Rome meetings didn't discuss or didn't tackle these strategic topics. However, the military mediation will take or will put a plan and a schedule for the Israeli withdrawal from Lebanon.
Mm-hmm. Well, these U.S.-Lebanese military talks, they will play a big role, but is there a fear of complicating the progress in negotiations as a result of these U.S.-Lebanese military talks and cooperation?
Yes, there is a factor, which is the Iranian factor. If the Iranian-American situation is or became more complex, I think Hezbollah will return for the strikes. However, Hezbollah is still aligning and is still not violate all of the agreement. I think the agreement will be delayed, and it will lead to a negative effect. On the other side, if Israel is still stubborn in this topic and dealt with it as they still look at this topic, even if the American-Iranian agreement is applicable, and maybe Israel is still waiting for a chance for launching a war one more time on Iran, because they don't believe or any nuclear power in Iran. So if Israel is still waiting a greater chance and a suitable chance, so on the other side, Iran will still wait for a chance, and they will not give up on Hezbollah, because they have a strategic importance in the geographical importance between Israel. He used Hezbollah as a factor before, and he can use it one more time if they have Israel will for not or accepting Iran to have a nuclear power, even if it was for peace solutions.
From Beirut, that was the Brigadier General Neji Malab, the military and strategic expert. General Malab, thank you for joining us here on Q News. Now we head back to Halal Hamalawi in our studio. Hela.
Thank you so much, Hani, for the analysis. Moving on with our news bulletin, Bahrain has activated air raid sirens, urging the public to remain calm and move to the nearest safe location. Bahrain's Interior Ministry said that air raid sirens were activated on Monday morning. The ministry urged citizens and residents to remain calm, proceed to the nearest safe location, and follow updates through official channels. Jordan's military said that it intercepted and shot down 4 missiles that entered the country's airspace from Iran. The Jordanian armed forces announced that air defense systems intercepted and destroyed 4 missiles that entered Jordanian airspace from Iranian territory. The military did not provide further details on the missiles or whether there were any casualties or damage. Moving on to Yemen, where the country's defense ministry said that it struck the runway at Sana'a International Airport to prevent an Iranian aircraft from landing. Yemen's defense ministry said that its armed forces targeted the runway at Sana'a International Airport to prevent an Iranian aircraft from landing. In a statement carried by Yemen's Saba news agency, the ministry accused the Iran-backed Houthi movement of preventing Yemen's national carrier from landing while insisting on allowing an Iranian aircraft to enter Yemeni airspace. Earlier on Monday, the ministry urged civilians to evacuate Sana'a International Airport and avoid the surrounding area, saying that the measure was necessary to protect public safety amid potential security developments. to Gaza. Egypt has dispatched its 233rd aid convoy under the Zaid al-Azza Provision of Honor from Egypt to Gaza initiative from Rafah to Gaza via Kerem Abu Salim border crossing. The aid convoy carries over 70,000 food baskets alongside medical, relief and fuel supplies. The aid supports hospitals and critical facilities amid the ongoing humanitarian needs. Operating as Egypt's national coordination mechanism, the Egyptian Red Crescent has maintained continuous presence at the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing, which remained open from the Egyptian side. Total aid delivered has surpassed 1 million tons, supported by more than 65,000 volunteers. Israeli occupation forces have released 7 detainees from the Gaza Strip. The Israeli occupation forces released 7 detainees from the Gaza Strip on Monday. The freed detainees arrived at Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza, accompanied by teams from the International Committee of the Red Cross. They were received by their families after arriving at the hospital. An Israeli drone strike has targeted a displaced persons camp in southern Gaza, leaving several people injured. The Palestinian media reported that an Israeli drone strike targeted the Al-Mawasi area of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. According to the reports, the strike hit tents sheltering displaced people west of the Al-Attar junction in Al-Mawasi. Several people were injured and transferred to the Kuwait Specialized Field Hospital for treatment. Football celebrations and high-stakes action dominate headlines as Egypt honors its national team's historic achievement, while Hani Saif has the latest from the World Cup. To you, Hani.
That's right, Hela. We have 2 semi-finals coming up, but we'll start with Egypt first. Egypt is set to celebrate its national team with a major event at Cairo International Stadium. Fans are encouraged to wear the team jerseys and join the celebrations that are going to be headlined by Tamer Hosni. The ceremony will honor the players and staff, featuring entertainment and tributes to Egypt's historic 2026 World Cup run. The event follows a presidential reception in New Alamein, where President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi praised the team's performance. Thousands of fans also welcomed the squad, highlighting the strong national pride and support after a landmark achievement in Egyptian football. Still in the tournament, Spain take on France tomorrow, Tuesday, in the FIFA World Cup's first semi-final. Spain will face France on Tuesday, July 14th, in the FIFA semi-final. The match kicks off at 10 p.m. Cairo local time at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. FIFA has appointed Salvadorian referee Ivan Barton to officiate the highly anticipated encounter between the two European sides. England will entertain Argentina the following day on Wednesday, but now we go back to Heda Al-Hamilawi in our studio. Heda.
Thank you so much, Hani. And this brings us to the end of our news bulletin for this hour. But before we go, Here is a quick recap of the top stories making headlines this hour. Trump says U.S. to reimpose naval blockade on Iran, keep Hormuz open. Lebanon and Israel launched sixth round of direct talks in Rome. And Egypt sends 233rd Gaza aid convoy through Kerem Abu Salam. Well, this concludes this hour's Q News Bulletin. As the day's developments continue to unfold, our coverage continues as well. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Stay with us here on Q News.